AI can edit, create voiceovers, come up with video topics and scripts. It can do a lot, but can it actually replace the human? Like, can you actually use AI, create an avatar of yourself, and have the whole process automated and create content that gets views on YouTube? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in today's episode. So, will the future be a bunch of fake AI avatars here on YouTube? Well, let's find out. Okay, so like I said, AI has helped us create video topics, scripts. It can help you in your editing process, all that kind of stuff. So Grant, up until this point, how do you think AI has impacted YouTube creators thus far?
So I feel like the biggest thing with AI is you can generate images or you can have it write outlines for scripts. I know we've used ChatGPT to kind of outline some things for this podcast. Obviously, most of it is just us talking, but it can be really helpful for kind of creating the basis of an idea or creating an outline of something or generating useful images in a video. You know, if you're like talking about something really abstract, like, you know, the time some wizard did something in a forest 2000 years ago, you can generate that with AI and do that. To me, that feels like the limitations of AI right now. There isn't much beyond that can be done too much. Like, you can do AI voiceover instead of having to like hire an artist, but I guess you said creators. Whereas, like, if you're running a YouTube channel as a business, I think AI is generally more useful for you. Whereas if you're a creator who is trying to express yourself, AI, in my opinion, is a lot less useful. So maybe we can kind of delve into the difference between AI for a business versus a creator. But to me, those distinctions are important.
Yeah, and I think AI is invented for businesses. I feel like it's something that can allow you to be more productive and that kind of stuff. And creators are, of course, using it as well. But I want to talk about the kind of the next couple years of AI, because what we're starting to see now is AI can generate like an avatar, right? So we know they can create scripts, we know they can create voiceovers, and now that it can create the avatar, it seems like the whole content production flow can be all done in AI, in replacing yourself as the speaker, right?
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, have you ever seen any of these kind of videos, and what was your impression of like an AI avatar or person, a human that was actually created by AI? What was your
So,
impression of that?
so I've seen VTubers, but I know that's an actual human moving, and then there's kind of like a character layered over their actual facial expressions. So I have not seen a fully AI avatar in a YouTube video that I know of, besides like there was like a Rusty Cage video where he sort of came back from the dead with like this creepy AI avatar. It was very well done. But that was like supposed to look a little off. That was kind of part of the vibe. And it was perfect. He did a great job. But like, besides that, I have not seen any AI avatars. I'm curious about your experience with them. It sounds like you have a lot to say.
Yeah, I have seen some. So like there's some few apps out there that you can like open up a library of a bunch of different people, right? You see their faces and then you can click on one of them and you have your script there that was most likely AI generated, and you click generate, and that person will speak that script, and you can save that as a video. And my impression of it is that it's not great yet. Like, you can tell that it's AI generated basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now as I'm speaking, if you're watching this on YouTube, hopefully you can tell that this is not AI by just how I'm looking and my facial expressions and stuff like that. And these other examples that I'm talking about, you could tell. But we are very close, I think, getting to the point where you won't be able to tell. And I've seen a few demos and stuff on some other videos. I think Colin and Samir covered this recently. And that's what this episode's about. Like, and I want to get your opinion, Grant. Like, if you were to watch a video and not be able to tell that it was AI generated, and even though it was an AI avatar, like, what would your feelings be about that? Like, obviously when you're watching it, you wouldn't know, because we're going on the hypothesis that you don't know. But I guess, what would your feelings be after you found out that it was all AI generated? Like, how would you feel about that content?
So, like, if the writing also was AI generated,
Yep, the whole thing.
I mean, I would feel a bit creeped out. a little betrayed. If I legitimately enjoyed what I was watching and felt that it had depth to it, and then I found out it was all just AI generated, I mean, yeah, that would be kind of a weird, creepy betrayal, in my opinion. Just because, if I'm pretty picky with videos as far as like what I consider to be like transcendent or truly interesting. Like a video that I think about after I watch it is kind of rare. So like if I felt that way and then found out a robot made the whole thing, that would be devastating. Actually, I would not like that, not at all.
Yeah, and that's kind of the viewpoint that I'm taking because like a lot of people are starting to say like they want the shortcut, right? They're saying like, oh, I like kind of like this idea of replacing myself and being able to just enter a prompt like
Mm,
create a video, me giving my opinion on the new Apple iPhone, and give it and do a tech review on that. Boom, hit generate. The video is completely generated. It's me, it's my mannerisms. You can't tell that it's AI generated. And it's even most likely what I would say about it and how I would review it because it's machine learning and it's learned about kind of how I review things and my tastes. But here's the problem. Like that's all good. If the viewer doesn't know, it's all good. But the problem is, for me at least, is I want the actual opinion of the person. Like I want the creativeness of that person to show through the video. And I feel like with AI, I'm being, like you said, kind of you're being duped, like
mm-hmm.
you're being tricked, right? So I do think that for me, I wouldn't like that. Imagine a world where YouTube, when you go to search on YouTube, you're not searching, you're just creating a prompt, right? And then it's generating an AI video back to you of a creator that you want to
Mm.
give the information about that topic, right?
God, that would
So
be weird.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that's it. That's what they were talking about on Colin Samir, man.
yeah, I mean, that's crazy. The idea of AI taking all of what a person has said and condensing it into this large language model that can spit out content that like, yeah, this is what Logan Paul would say on this topic, like, and then actually creating content about that. I can see the appeal from a creator standpoint because you don't have to show up, you don't have to be in front of the camera, and it's
Yeah.
close enough. You can essentially license yourself out, make money with no work. So, like, if you already have a reputation, I think, yeah, I mean, this is a great business opportunity. The rich will get richer. But to me, overall, this feels dystopian in that you can capture somebody's essence and then create a bunch of content off of it. I mean, what if there's a smaller creator who is up and coming? Maybe they have like 30,000 subscribers, but their videos are fire and they're going to blow up. And then somebody creates an AI based on them and starts pumping out content that is not as good as what this person is doing, but there's way more of it and it's good enough, air quotes. And then it kind of floods over them. Like that's a scenario I worry about. I don't really care about wealthy celebrities being able to make more money off of their own image thanks to AI. Yeah, I see this mostly being bad in that particular scenario.
Yeah. So with all this said, I mean, both of us are not excited about it. I'm guessing most viewers are not excited about that. But what are some areas in the creation process that AI just can't replicate? Like
Hmm.
what part of this whole thing do you find that makes you say, "Hey, I wouldn't like that," because of what reason?
To me, it's the writing is the biggest thing. Like the way a story is told or a video is written, like unless it's super informative, like I don't know how to change a light bulb or like something that's very just point by point raw information. um but I don't think AI, like in my experience, it just isn't good enough to really tell a compelling story. It can be good enough, it's like okay, it's not bad, it's surprisingly good, but it's still not excellent, and it probably never will be. Like it just there's a thing that humans do who are naturally talented at storytelling that is compelling. So I don't think AI, at least for artistic videos that are really trying to say something important. I don't think AI is ever going to replace that. I think another thing AI struggles with is AI voiceover is actually really good, but you can always tell when it's AI. I think using it in the wrong context is a bad thing. So, for instance, there's a channel that it's like geography facts. Basically, the editing is really good. Clearly, a human is doing the video editing. Clearly, humans are involved with the writing, but the voiceover is AI. And to me, that actually works really well. Because the whole package kind of comes together. It doesn't feel like it's pretending to be human. It's just kind of telling you some really interesting facts about, like, I don't know, this one time zone difference between Alaska and Russia and blah blah blah. So I think AI can be a good supplement, but like if you're relying on it for the whole creation process, unless you're really churning out content in a space with a ton of natural viewers, I think it's going to be hard to really stand out because you're kind of just making average stuff at best.
Yeah, I agree. But I have to say, Grant, that it's going to get better. You said like you can always tell when it's AI, a voiceover that's AI generated, but we're less than a year away probably from not being able to tell, especially on voiceovers. Because I feel like has been a couple times where I've heard a voiceover and I couldn't tell at this point. And also too, like with the storytelling, like I know for a fact, like I'm not a good storyteller. AI is better at telling stories than I am because AI can know the basics on what makes a good story that I don't know, and it can put together, a script or something that's better at storytelling than me. Now, what I think AI can't do, or the reason I don't like AI or this whole idea of AI generated videos, is because of the opinions and the personality. I think that there's something where you don't know what that creator is going to say next when it's human generated. They could say anything, but AI is going to never be able to just say anything because there's restrictions, right? It's not going to say anything, I don't know, taboo, right? It's not going to say anything very too controversial because there's blockers on that kind of stuff. Where with a human, you don't know what their opinion is going to be. They might say this iPhone sucks.
Right. And AI is always going to be based off of things they've already said, because it's taking everything they've already said and condensing that into a kind of artificial personality, right? So it's leaving out the possibility of, like, we've all heard stories of our favorite creator, they're the best, and then, I don't know, they start dating somebody and then they just kind of go off the deep end and some weird stuff happened. Like, that is a very human story to me. Whereas like if you had sort of taken them at their peak and distilled them into AI, and then they just kind of continued on that trajectory instead of their weird falling out with their audience. I mean, you could argue that's better, but it is less interesting. Like, to me, it's the way one lives their life is their art, in my opinion. Their art is also their art, but yeah, AI just can't replicate the craziness of humans, and it will keep getting better. You're right. There will be a point where you can't tell with AI voiceover. You can still definitely tell right now. But like, yeah, it's going to get better. I think what is happening right now is pretty much anything required to make a video. AI is coming at it. Whether it's the writing, whether it's the voiceover, whether it's the personality, like a person in front of a camera, whether it's the videos themselves. You can even generate videos with AI. AI is coming for it at all angles, right? And I think what we're going to see is the more average a person, like if you're super below average and you have like no inspiration, you have no good ideas, AI can like bring you up a notch, right? Whereas if you are excellent, I think AI at this point is actually going to bring you down a notch.
Yeah.
If you overuse it, of course. But like, I think what we're seeing is a sort of what's the word? Like almost a gentrification of content is what AI is creating, where like everything is average or like a little above average, maybe a little below average, but like the excellence I think will get drowned out by the sheer quantity of content that we are able to create with these automated tools. That's sort of the dystopian future. But like, I think AI is sort of threatening true art in that regard. True art will never go away. I think there will always be a place for it, but it worries me. It does worry me.
Yeah, same here. And there's entire YouTube channels currently that are, I wouldn't say 100% AI, but people are going into Chat GPT, they're getting the video topic, they're having Chat GPT write the entire script, and then they're taking that script, putting it in 11 labs, having the voiceover created. Then they are pretty much sourcing and using maybe a little bit of Midjourney or something to grab some images, but mostly just sourcing. I think not using AI, but maybe, who knows, a bunch of video clips. Like, for example, a basketball channel talking about current basketball news. ChatGPT could write the script. You could get the voiceover. You could source all these NBA clips of that player. You could put together a complete video. You could publish it. And that would be, a YouTube automation is what they would call it. But, people grow channels doing that kind of stuff right now, and they have success with it. I mean, according to their profiles on Twitter, who knows, how many screenshots are fake, but that is a strategy that people are using. And it's, to me, like just garbage content. Like it's spam, basically YouTube spam, in my opinion. And if I click onto one of those videos, sometimes I do because it's got a good title, it's got a good thumbnail, it looks, oh, Steph Curry did what? And I'll click on it. And as soon as I realize it's AI, I click away. So I don't know who's watching those videos and giving them watch time, but people are, because they got a lot of views. And so that is, kind of how AI is being used through this YouTube automation model. And we've already talked about other ways that it's being used. But my question to you, Grant, is what part of the creative process right now do you think AI excels at the most?
I mean, I think it's outlining. It's not the writing, but I think outlining. It can really give you a clear, quick, and concise outline. Like you can just give it an idea, be like, break this into 3 sections, and it'll do it. It's great at that. I think voiceover, I still feel like it excels at voiceover. Like as far as the time investment versus what you get, it's pretty dang good. Like, if you're making informational videos, there's plenty of AI voiceovers that I accept. There are some I do not accept. But yeah, I would say outlining and voiceovers is really where it excels right now. Yes, the image generation is impressive, but like, I don't know, it still, in my opinion, is hard to get the right image. You can get like a pretty good image, but it's not like amazing or anything. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, oh, sorry, I just cut you off. Like for the image stuff, like it made me think, like, because images are so specific, like if you need something general for an image, it works pretty well and it'll impress you. But as soon as you need something that's specific for the image, it's just going to frustrate you. You're going to have to regenerate and regenerate and regenerate. At least that's my experience. The other day I was trying to get a logo made that had some text in it, and it didn't even work. It wouldn't spell the word right. So anyway,
yeah, it's terrible with text. And so I feel like we've kind of, we've talked about the things AI is good at, the things it's bad at. We've talked about sort of the dystopian future of content that is like pretty good replacing content that is excellent, just because the sheer quantity is kind of overwhelming the true art on the platform. But as sort of an optimistic note, there is a part of me that feels like this is similar to when I was a kid. Digital cameras were like kind of new, and the idea of a camera auto focusing and auto, like basically it changing itself with software to the right lighting to take pretty good pictures. Like I remember being like 13 and being like, this isn't real photography, this is fake photography. But here I am now, and I basically never use manual settings on cameras. I just set it to auto and I film, and like that's great. Is AI kind of like that? I wonder. Like, yes, there is a potential dystopian future of it, But also, are we perhaps going to see more of a democratization of content? So, like the style of content you were describing with like NBA highlights or things like that. Now, if you want to make something like that, you don't necessarily have to be business savvy. You don't necessarily have to know anything about video editing. If you can just kind of throw things into an AI generator and then a human, and then you as a human kind of like move some things around and change a little bit. But like you can save yourself a lot of time and having to learn a lot of knowledge just by using some of these AI tools. So I guess to sort of counter the dystopian idea with a more optimistic one, what if we are seeing a sort of democratization of content thanks to AI in a similar way that we now have a democratization of photography and video? Like anybody now can take a decent photo and a decent video. Like, yeah, it's not going to be National Geographic, but like you'll be able to tell what's going on. It'll look pretty dang good, especially if you have a good phone. Um, you know, and maybe that's okay. Maybe this will actually, maybe these tools will be useful for genuinely creative people and they can take their own stuff to an even higher level. So I think a lot of this depends on how YouTube deals with it. Does YouTube sort of succumb to AI generated content and flood the platform with it, or do they not? I actually feel like YouTube is legitimately trying to not flood the platform with AI generated content. There's a box that you need to check, is anything in this video AI generated, blah blah blah. Is there any scene that didn't actually occur in this video but you're pretending it did? I think they're really trying to cut down on things. There was an algorithm shift in like March of this year that I think downshifted how well AI videos do generally. So all this to say, I'm hoping that AI will just be another tool we can use. And it's not going to replace everything. It's not going to replace art. But it might even take art to a higher level if everything is done correctly. And it will democratize video creation if everything is done correctly. So there's my optimistic take. How about that?
That's a good take. And actually, I think that's the one that makes the most sense to me, because the creator part of YouTube is such a big part. Like, it's not just about the viewers. I know to me, the reason YouTube is the greatest platform to create content on is because they actually care about their creators. And I think YouTube would put a stop to anything that was going to eliminate the creator. Mm-hmm. And if that's just like AI generated content. And you made a good point too, because like at this point, the barrier to entry on YouTube is still kind of high. Like, you got to know how to film the video, edit the video, upload it. You got to have low graphic design skills to create the thumbnail, all that kind of stuff. So the talent on YouTube right now is people that can do that. And it's leaving out a lot of people that might be a lot funnier, have a lot more information to share, be a lot more of an expert in a certain field. But look, I'm a super expert, but I don't know how to edit. But this little geek over there knows how to edit and knows how to get a video online. So he's created 500 videos on his channel, and he's the biggest YouTuber in that niche because he knows how to do it. And I've created one, and then I just said, this is way too much work, even though I should be the one as the top subscribed channel in that world because I'm funny, I'm all this. But there's just too many barriers of entry where AI can level that playing field. And now the best talent is able to create videos, and the content's even better now, and they're more creative and smarter at the topic and better on camera and all that kind of stuff. So I do like that kind of viewpoint, and that actually makes the most sense to me. The camera analogy, I really like that you shared. Back in the day, only people who were super knowledgeable with cameras could be photographers. Now anybody can go and take a great picture as long as they can get their iPhone to portrait mode. That's the one that I use. And boy, I've taken some great photos of my kids and stuff. So I do agree with all that. That was some great points. So let's jump ahead 5 to 10 years from now. Do you see AI generated content overtaking human created content on YouTube? And give me your final answer.
Yes, I do. However, like, what do you mean by AI generated? Like, to me, AI generated is like 90% of it is done by robots and 10% is managed by humans.
Okay, so
That's what I see taking
that's a great
over.
question because it could go either way. Let me ask you this. I'm talking about 100% AI generated content in the end, where it's a prompt that you enter, and it creates the video of myself for this podcast. Right now, I said, "Hey, ChatGPT, create a podcast about talking about AI with me, myself, and then my co-host Grant Ball. Make it about 30 minutes. Enter."
Ooh,
10
I
years from now.
I don't think it's going to take over. It's not going to take over the like 90%, 10% trade off between AI and humans. I don't think it's going to take over that. Um, I think that might take over 100% human created content. I don't think that's going to be the biggest thing, though. I don't think all robots all the time is going to be more successful than 90% robots, 90% humans. So I'm going to say no.
You mean 90% robots, 10% humans?
Yeah, I don't know what I said, but
You
that's
said
what I
90
meant.
and 90, but
Oh, okay, yeah.
your math is bad.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But that's the future I see. I don't think all robots all the time are going to win out anytime soon. I do think humans managing robots is probably going to be the bulk of what we see on YouTube. Um, I hope I'm wrong, but like, we'll see.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that because I think AI can get to the point to where all you got to do is hit record on your camera, stop the recording, and then you enter the prompt, turn this into a YouTube video. Boom. Thumbnail can be generated, all that can be generated. The topic beforehand could have been generated already with a prompt. And so it's like you're like 2 prompts away from going beginning to end a YouTube video, plus you having to hit record and speak to the camera. So that's pretty much already here. That's probably less than 10 years away, but you make a great point, Grant. I think you did a great job discussing AI in its current state and in the future. And I hope you guys learned something from today's episode. If you did, and you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. We'd appreciate any kind of subscription you can give us. Leave us a comment. Let us know what else you want us to discuss here on the Video Creator Show. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can follow us there as well. And with that said, we will see you guys in the next video.
Later.